The series begins with Jocko, the head chef of a big restaurant. As soon as he enters the kitchen, he sees a dish prepared by Rana, but he tells her the food isn't good without even tasting it and orders her to redo it. Rana is surprised, but he insists that he can judge the taste without trying it and asks her to test it herself. Then the story flashes back 1 year earlier. We see Jocko in high school, excelling in mathematics with a dream of becoming a famous mathematician. One day, he participates in a competition for outstanding students. Jocko is shocked during the competition when he realizes he can't solve the problems. At that moment, he understands that while he loves math, he isn't a genius at it, so he decides to give up his dream. The next day, he is at a restaurant with his friend Yumi, a swimming champion who dreams of the Olympics. He tells her about his failure and his desire to find a new goal. While he cooks for the workers, Yumi tries the food and loves it. And Kai, who had been watching him, is also impressed by the taste, though he leaves without saying a word. The following day, the school principal, Simon, asks Jocko to join another math competition. Simon is shocked when Jocko refuses to participate. He yells at him, reminding him that the school invested a lot in him through a free scholarship. But Jocko sticks to his decision and walks away. On his way out, he runs into Kai and his assistants and learns that Kai is a chef and restaurant owner who is also hosting a grand banquet with Simon. Jocko goes with Kai to his house to get to know him better. There, Kai cooks a meal, and when Jocko tastes it, he's amazed. He discovers his own unique talent. He can analyze the ingredients of food with the same precision he once used to solve math problems. Jocko thanks Kai for the meal, but Kai tells him that what he cooked in the restaurant was even better. Suddenly, Yumi calls Jocko to tell him that Simon has expelled him from school. Jocko rushes to beg Simon to let him return and finish his scholarship to fulfill his father's dream. But Simon refuses and demands $4 million in compensation, calling him a failure. Yumi witnesses the scene, and Kai asks Jocko about his breakdown. Jocko admits he once dreamed of being a mathematician, but has lost all hope. At that moment, Kai offers him a job, saying that his mathematical talent will make him a remarkable chef, capable of uncovering culinary secrets no one else knows. Jocko doesn't believe him and leaves. The next day, he sees an advertisement for Kai's restaurant with Yumi and is impressed by its success. Yumi suggests they eat at a nearby place, but when they arrive, Jocko realizes it's Kai's restaurant. Yumi then reveals that she had arranged this with Kai because she believes in Jocko's talent for cooking. Inside the restaurant, Kai welcomes Simon and his guests, promising them a special main dish. To everyone's surprise, Kai asks Jocko to prepare it. At first, Jocko refuses, saying cooking is just a hobby, but Kai hands him a uniform and gives him a choice: either accept the challenge and prove himself, or run away and live as a failure forever. Jocko remembers Simon's words that he would never succeed and decides to take the challenge. After changing his clothes, he prepares the main dish. When Kai serves it to the guests and Simon, everyone is amazed by the taste. Simon is delighted because his guests, who turn out to be the school's investors, are pleased, and he asks to thank the chef. He is shocked when he discovers the chef is Jocko. At that moment, Kai announces to everyone that Jocko is a student from Simon's school who used his mathematical talent to analyze food ingredients with precision. The result astonished everyone. Everyone applauds Jocko, and Kai forces Simon to keep his promise in front of the investors, thank Jocko, and take him back to school. This makes Jocko extremely happy. Sometime later, Jocko graduates and is offered a university scholarship, but he turns it down. He goes back to apologize to his father and tells him he has decided to become a chef because he discovered his true passion, and that Kai believes in his talent and will support him. At first, his father is saddened and stays silent, but before Jocko leaves, he catches up with him and assures him he will support him, asking him to do what he truly loves. Jocko happily bids his father farewell and heads to Kai's restaurant. There, he meets Rana, who is surprised at Kai's special attention toward him. Kai explains to Jocko that working at his restaurant won't be easy. The restaurant follows strict rules, and the chefs are of the highest caliber. Jocko must cook for them for a trial period, and if they aren't impressed, he won't get the job. Jocko eagerly accepts the challenge, but Kai surprises him by shortening the trial from 1 month to just 1 week. He also makes Jocko live with him at his house so he can focus entirely on work. When Jocko arrives at the restaurant, he meets the chefs, but none of them acknowledge him and just continue working. On his first day, he struggles to keep up with their speed and fails to finish a dish. On the second day, he improves and cooks a meal they actually like, yet they give no feedback. The days pass, and every day Jocko cooks a new dish, but the chefs remain silent until there's only 1 day left in the week, leaving Jocko frustrated and unsure of what to do. Jocko is shocked when he sees Yumi injured and unable to walk. When he asks her, she explains that she used to be a skilled swimmer, but after moving to Tokyo, she faced stronger competitors, so she pushed herself with endless training until she injured her legs. Jocko realizes he isn't the only one facing hardships. Later, Yumi takes out some homemade recipes from her bag, and as she eats them, she bursts into tears, remembering her childhood. This moment inspires Jocko with a new idea. He thanks her and goes home to carefully analyze the ingredients. The next day, Jocko announces in front of Kai and the chefs that he is ready for the final challenge. Kai warns him that failure means exclusion from the restaurant, but Jocko confidently accepts. He prepares a dish using simple ingredients, and when the chefs taste it, they are amazed by its flavor, despite its plain appearance. At that moment, each chef introduces themselves to Jocko, and Nini, the hall manager, brings him the official uniform as a sign of his acceptance into the restaurant. Jocko is overjoyed, but one chef refuses to introduce himself and walks away, jealous of Jocko's success. Jocko sends a picture of himself in his new uniform to Yumi and his father, and they are thrilled by his official appointment at the restaurant. After a week, he adapts well to his colleagues. Suddenly, Kai announces that the next day, the restaurant is reserved for an important guest, and Jocko will be responsible for cooking for them. Kai orders the jealous chef to assist Jocko, but his assistant Hoti objects, saying Kai is risking the restaurant's reputation by letting a beginner handle the kitchen. Kai confidently replies that it's his restaurant and his decision, then later sits with Jocko in a cafe to talk. Jocko asks Kai about the guest, and Kai tells him it is one of the investors Jocko once served during Simon's banquet. The next day, Jocko prepares to cook, but is surprised when the guest arrives with his daughter, Jakura, Jocko's brilliant classmate from his last math competition. Jakura is shocked to learn that Jocko abandoned mathematics to become a chef, but he assures her that he chose what he truly loves. Later, Jocko confronts Kai, saying he invited Jakura and her father on purpose, knowing that her words had discouraged him during the competition. Kai replies that he did it to motivate him, insisting that now is the time to prove himself as a success, or let despair defeat him in front of her and her father. Fired up, Jocko heads into the kitchen to prepare the meal. As Jakura watches, he assures her that she wasn't the reason he left math, that he discovered his real gift in cooking, and promises her an unforgettable dish. But he is stunned to find that the other chef has eaten the entire dish because he couldn't resist its taste. The chef admits he was jealous of Jocko, since he had failed to create a successful recipe of his own. Jocko decides to help him and suggests they work together on his recipe with some adjustments. When they finish, Jocko serves the dish to Jakura and her father, asking them to lift the lid themselves to enjoy the aroma. The taste amazes them. Jocko explains that the idea of lifting the lid came from his colleague, and that the recipe was the result of their teamwork. Kai is pleased with what happened because he intentionally made Roko help Jocko to bring them closer. Jocko thanks Roko, who introduces himself and tells his story. His father owned a big restaurant, but he refused to work with him after his father stole the spotlight, so he decided to leave and rely on himself. Roko admits he's happy to work with Jocko. The next day, Kai checks the reservations and is surprised to find that the most famous critic in Japan has booked a visit to the restaurant. The critic had visited them the year before and gave them a good rating, but this time, Kai wants the highest rating possible. He assigns the tasks, Jocko for appetizers and Rana for the main course, then reminds Jocko that this is his chance to prove he's the best chef in Japan. The following day, the chefs start preparing the meals for the critic, while Jocko is still unsure about what kind of appetizer to make. He tries looking through the critic's social media accounts to learn his taste. After finishing his shift, he goes to a restaurant to eat and unexpectedly meets Rana. They sit together, and she tells him she understands how difficult working in the restaurant is because she went through it herself. She explains that she learned cooking from her mother, who ran a big restaurant, but her mother refused to meet the customers who praised her food. When Rana grew older, she realized the reason. Japanese society looks down on female chefs, and she even heard customers mocking her mother. Jocko comforts Rana and says he wants to visit her mother's restaurant and taste her food. The next day, the critic arrives at the restaurant and tries the dishes, then posts his review online. Kai gathers the chefs and tells them the critic highly praised Jocko's appetizer and Rana's main dish, and the restaurant's rating rose significantly compared to last year. Everyone is thrilled except Rana, who confronts Kai and demands her mother's restaurant back. She reveals that the restaurant originally belonged to her mother, but Kai took advantage of her debts and bought it for less than its value. She adds that he promised to return it if she proved her talent. Kai responds that she still lacks something to be a true chef, and he expels her in front of everyone, shocking the staff. The next day, Simon meets Rana and tells her he knows she was fired. He reveals that he plans to buy the restaurant soon and offers her the position of manager after being impressed with the critic's review of her dish. Rana asks for time to think, then visits her mother and suggests the idea on the condition that she return to work with her. But her mother refuses, saying she's been away from cooking for too long. That evening, Jocko tries to learn the truth from Kai, asking him to explain the situation to the chefs so they don't misunderstand. But Kai refuses and tells him to focus only on his work. The next day, Jocko visits Rana's mother and introduces himself as Rana's colleague, while Rana is with Simon, who hands her the contract to sign. When Rana returns home, she's shocked to find Jocko in the kitchen with her mother, and even more stunned when she learns her mother cooked herself. During the meal, her mother asks Jocko whose food is better, hers or Rana's. Jocko replies that Rana's is tastier, which angers her mother, but then she admits that Rana has become a skilled chef, thanks to Kai's support from behind the scenes. Her mother then tells her story, how she was fired from her job because of pregnancy, then opened her own restaurant, and succeeded until Simon tried to buy it. When she refused, he ruined its reputation and debts piled up. That's when Kai stepped in and bought the restaurant, promising to give it back to Rana once she proved herself, and asked her mother to pretend to be strict to push her forward. At that moment, Rana and Jocko realize Kai wasn't selfish as they thought. He was actually supporting her in his own way. After learning the truth, Jocko and Rana go to Kai, and Rana apologizes and asks to return to work. Kai agrees on the condition that she cook a dish for Simon, and if he likes it, she can come back. The next day, they prepare the food together, and when Simon tastes it, he is amazed by the flavor, but shocked to learn that Rana was the chef. He gets angry and accuses her of betraying their agreement, but she reminds him that she never signed any contract. Kai mocks Simon, who storms out vowing revenge. Kai then explains that Rana succeeded not only because of her cooking, but also because she faced her fear and was able to meet the customers. With that, he allows her to return, to the joy of her colleagues. That night, Kai asks Jocko if he's happy about Rana's return. Jocko says he is, because she's his friend. But Kai warns him that a successful chef cannot have friends. He then announces a competition among the chefs. Whoever wins with their dish will represent the restaurant at a grand awards banquet at a luxury hotel and will be in charge of the kitchen. Jocko hesitates because he doesn't want to compete against his friends, but Yumi convinces him the competition is necessary if he wants to prove himself, so he gets motivated and joins. The day of the competition arrives, and all the chefs present their dishes. Kai is impressed with Rana's food, until it's Jocko's turn. Jocko surprises everyone by presenting multiple harmonious dishes. Kai declares him the winner, making him head chef for the banquet. That night, Kai gives him the banquet file, which turns out to be for honoring top achievers in mathematics. And Jocko will be cooking for Hiroshi, his old classmate and winner of the last competition. Jocko dreams that he fails in front of them and becomes anxious. But Kai reassures him that fear will drive him to succeed. On the day of the banquet, Hiroshi is surprised to see Jocko, hugs him, and asks to work with him. But Jocko refuses because he loves cooking. After they prepare the meal, Jocko serves Hiroshi his dish, only to discover that Hiroshi doesn't eat at all and survives only on supplements. Believing food to be illogical, Jocko feels disheartened when Hiroshi refuses to eat his dish. But Hoti encourages him not to give up and to come up with a different recipe. Kai also steps in, telling him this will be the last time he helps him. After much thought, Jocko invents a special recipe and prepares it with Kai. When he serves it to Hiroshi, the latter is amazed by its appearance and aroma. Jocko explains that the dish is made with ingredient ratios based on mathematical equations and asks him to taste it to complete the experience. Hiroshi is astonished by Jocko's food, telling him it's the first time he has ever tasted something so beautiful. After the banquet, he thanks him warmly. That night, Jocko tells Kai he's happy, but still feels lonely. Kai replies that loneliness is the price of success. Then Kai surprises him by revealing he's traveling to Paris for 2 days to open a new restaurant, and during that time, Jocko will be in charge of the restaurant. The next day, Jocko reads a letter from Kai, affirming that he is proud of them and supporting him as the restaurant's temporary head. When he notices Nini's absence, he realizes she traveled with Kai. Rana suggests closing the restaurant until Kai returns, but the other chefs refuse, insisting that Jocko can run it. Rana requests 2 weeks off, and during that time, Jocko and his colleagues successfully manage the restaurant, serving impressive dishes. But when the period ends, Kai still hasn't returned, and Rana reveals that she traveled to Paris and discovered he hadn't opened a restaurant there as he claimed. Everyone is shocked by his lie, but Jocko decides to continue until Kai comes back. Rana and Hoti agree and support him. Later, the investors arrive to test the restaurant after hearing of Kai's disappearance, and they are surprised by the quality of the food. They decide to keep supporting it, which makes Jocko and his team very happy. Simon visits the restaurant and shocks Jocko with a medical report proving that Kai suffers from an illness, causing him to gradually lose his sense of taste, which is why he disappeared. Simon then offers to buy the restaurant from Jocko for a huge sum, giving him time to think. The story then flashes back to the past, showing Kai in France with Shibuya, the man who raised and trained him as a chef. Kai tells him he wants to end his career in Japan with a grand restaurant that brings together the best chefs. And when he first saw Jocko, he knew he was the missing piece. In the present, Jocko returns home and finds Nini, who says she doesn't know where Kai is, but is sure he'll come back, which is why she has decided to return to work. Later, Jocko meets Yumi and tells her everything that happened. Yumi advises him to keep running the restaurant and tells him that Kai choosing him means he sees him as his successor to become Japan's most famous chef. She then surprises him by saying she'll be leaving for Australia in a month and gives him a cactus plant, so he'll remember her. The next day, Simon returns to the restaurant, waiting for Jocko's answer, but Jocko refuses to sell and tells him they will never abandon Kai, even if he hid his illness. Simon leaves angrily. Afterwards, Jocko changes his hairstyle, puts on the head chef's uniform, and motivates his team to remain the best. Suddenly, Yumi calls from the airport to apologize for lying. Her flight isn't in a month but right now, because she hates farewells. Jocko is upset, but tells her to take care of herself. After the call, he sits down, feeling lonely, and remembers Kai's words. That loneliness is the price of success. A year later, Jocko achieves great success with the restaurant, but his behavior frustrates his colleagues, as he ignores their efforts. This brings us back to the opening scene, when Rana yells at him, saying she doesn't want to continue anymore. The other chefs are also upset, feeling they made a mistake by choosing him as their leader. Jocko replies that anyone who doesn't like it can quit. Afterwards, Rana sends a message to Kai, asking him to return before the restaurant collapses. One day, Jocko refuses to adjust a dish for a customer with an allergy, and decides instead to change the entire menu, even though Hoti warns him there isn't enough time and the customers are waiting. Jocko insists on cooking everything himself and refuses to serve anything incomplete, to the point of grabbing Hoti's dish and throwing it away. After Jocko threw the dish, Hoti decided to leave the restaurant. Roku confronted him, saying that they had tried to stand by him but he never appreciated it, and all he cared about was being the best. After that, all the chefs left, and Jocko continued cooking alone. Then Nini came in and told him that the customers had left after waiting for an hour, and that what happened would ruin the restaurant's reputation. She revealed that she had refused to stay with Kai in Paris, and only returned because she had faith in Jocko. But now, she felt he had let her down. The next day, Yumi called him, apologized for her absence, and asked about the cactus. He told her it had died because he kept watering it too much, just as he suffocated everyone around him. He admitted he was going through a hard time and wished she were by his side. Suddenly, he received a call from the hospital and learned that his father had been in an accident. He rushed there and was relieved to find the injuries were minor. Jocko told his father about his crisis, and his father advised him that cooking and skill mean nothing without joy, love, and the support of others, that this is the true secret of success. These words deeply affected Jocko and made him reflect. He decided to seek out Shibuya, and when he found him, he told him what had happened and asked where Kai was. Once he learned Kai's location, he rushed to him. There, Kai apologized for disappearing the way he did. Jocko told him he missed him, that he couldn't run the restaurant alone, that the bond with his colleagues was gone, and begged him to return, saying his comeback was the only chance to save the restaurant. Kai agreed to return with Jocko, but first, they went to Shibuya. Shibuya opposed the idea of Kai going back to cooking, explaining that his sense of smell had weakened and that he would be risking his reputation after achieving such a high status. Jocko defended him, saying they would cook together. Shibuya then decided to visit the restaurant the next day and taste the food himself. If he didn't like it, Kai would never be allowed to cook again. When they returned to the restaurant, they met Rana, who confronted Kai, telling him that Jocko had ruined the restaurant and that she had saved enough money to buy it. She said she wouldn't allow Jocko to keep working there. Kai agreed to let her buy it, but asked her to come back the next day as a guest. He told her he would invite all her colleagues to witness the experience. She left without replying. Jocko decided to apologize to his colleagues. He began with Hoti, who accepted his apology but refused to forgive him, saying he would open his own restaurant and would only come tomorrow to greet Kai. Then he apologized to Roku, but Roku told him he had decided to work at his father's restaurant and was busy preparing to travel. Jocko returned to Kai, feeling discouraged, but Kai reassured him. The next day, they entered the kitchen and began preparing food for Shibuya, experimenting with the different recipes until they reached the best flavor. When Shibuya arrived, he told Kai that if he didn't like any of the dishes, it would mean Kai had to retire from cooking. During the preparations, Kai grew weak and couldn't stand, but he insisted on continuing with Jocko. Suddenly, they were surprised when all the chefs returned to the restaurant, happy to see Kai again. Kai apologized to them for his absence, but they told him they weren't guests. They had come to help. Jocko asked him to sit down and give instructions as before, so Kai began guiding the team. After they finished, he and Jocko presented the dishes to Shibuya. Shibuya was surprised that they had used ideas from all the chefs, instead of relying only on Kai's. Kai replied that Jocko had taught him that teamwork is more important than working alone. After finishing the meal, Shibuya went into the kitchen and prepared for them the first recipe he had ever taught Kai. When Jocko tasted it, he felt defeated because its flavor was stronger, but he was shocked when Shibuya admitted that he had truly enjoyed their food and had realized that there is no single dish that is the best. The true secret of any great chef is constant innovation and variety. Shibuya told Kai that he could continue his career in cooking and assured him that he had loved him ever since he adopted him and that he had indeed become a better chef than him. Kai was deeply moved and thanked him for raising him after his mother abandoned him. Later, Rana bought the restaurant and restored it to its former glory, happily serving special dishes as before, proud that her mother's restaurant had come back to life. Meanwhile, Kai and Jocko opened a small restaurant in a quiet place, attracting customers who appreciated the true value of food. The surprise came when Jocko saw Yumi and Jakura visiting him. At that moment, he felt true happiness, surrounded by the people he loved most. And that's the end of the series. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe.